This is your 24 Hours Focus host today. Just few hours ago, U.S. forces fired on and disabled 2 Iranian oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. At the same time, the United Arab Emirates reported missile and drone strikes on its soil, launched by Iran. The month-old ceasefire is cracking. President Trump says he's expecting Iran's response to his peace proposal tonight. So we have to ask, is the Gulf War back on? Has the ceasefire already collapsed? And if so, who fired the first shot? Stay with us. We're breaking down the facts in the next 6 minutes. What happened last night? Let's start with what we know overnight. In the narrow waters of the Strait of Hormuz, U.S. Navy assets exchanged fire with Iranian forces. The U.S. military says it disabled 2 Iranian tankers that were trying to breach an American blockade of Iran's ports. They released video of fighter jets striking the ship's smokestacks. Hours earlier, the Pentagon said it thwarted attacks on 3 Navy ships and struck Iranian military facilities in the strait. But Iran tells a different story. Tehran's UN ambassador, Amir Said Iravani, filed an urgent letter to the UN Security Council. He accuses the United States of violating the ceasefire by attacking 2 Iranian oil tankers near Jask port. He calls it a gross violation of the UN Charter, and he warns of catastrophic consequences if U.S. military activity continues in the Persian Gulf. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates, America's key Gulf ally, was hit. The UAE Defense Ministry confirms air defenses engaged 2 ballistic missiles and 3 drones launched by Iran. 3 people were wounded. So ask yourself, if both sides claim the other broke the truce, who do you believe? And can a ceasefire survive when tankers are burning and missiles are flying? Why this moment matters. To understand why this is exploding now, we have to look at 3 pressure points. First, the Strait of Hormuz. This 21-mile-wide channel moves 20% of the world's oil every single day. Iran has mostly blocked it since the U.S. and Israel launched the war on February 28th. That caused a global spike in fuel prices. In response, the U.S. imposed its own naval blockade on Iran's ports, a blockade for a blockade, an eye for an eye. But here's the question: how long can either side hold out? A new CIA assessment says Tehran could withstand a U.S. blockade for about 4 more months before facing severe economic pressure. 4 months. That's the clock both Washington and Tehran are watching. Second, the peace talks. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he hopes to receive a serious offer from Iran later today. President Trump echoed that, telling reporters he expects Iran's response soon. But Iran's President Pezeshkian posted on X, "Colonialism will have no place in future world." He says Iran wants friendly relations based on mutual respect. Diplomatic words, while drones are in the air. Do they match? Third, the global fallout. The UK and France are moving warships to secure the strait as part of a 51-country coalition. Bahrain just arrested 41 people it says are linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard, and the U.S. Treasury hit 10 companies in China, Dubai, and Hong Kong with new sanctions for supplying Iran's military. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent called it the economic fury campaign. He said Iran's surviving leaders are trapped like rats in a sinking ship. Strong words, but is economic pressure enough when missiles are already flying? The ceasefire that wasn't, let's be honest about this ceasefire. It's been a month since the U.S. insisted it was in effect. But look at the timeline. February 28th, U.S. and Israel launched the war. April 8th, a 2-week ceasefire is announced in Tehran. May 4th, cargo ships sit anchored, blocked in the strait. May 8th, U.S. and Iran trade fire in the Gulf. May 9th, 2 tankers disabled, UAE attacked. Does that sound like peace to you? Ceasefires are built on trust, but what we're seeing is a shadow war of blockades, sanctions, and violations each side blames on the other. Iran says the U.S. breached the truce. The U.S. says Iran is breaching its blockade. So here's the real question. Was there ever a real ceasefire, or just a pause to reload? What happens next? So where do we go from here? 3 scenarios. Scenario 1, de-escalation, Iran delivers that serious offer to Rubio. Talks resume. Reports suggest Islamabad could host the next round. The strait reopens. Oil prices drop. Scenario 2, controlled escalation. Both sides keep trading blows, but avoid hitting major cities or closing the strait completely. A war of attrition. The CIA's 4-month clock keeps ticking. Scenario 3, regional explosion. A U.S. ship is sunk. An Iranian city is hit. The UAE, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and Bahrain are dragged in. The UK-French coalition engages, and 20% of global oil stops overnight. Which one is most likely? Look at the facts. The U.S. is still blockading Iran. Iran is still firing at the UAE. Trump is waiting for an answer tonight. If that answer is no, what happens tomorrow morning? This is 24 hours focus. The Gulf is on fire, the ceasefire is on paper, and the world is holding its breath. Iran says it wants respect. The U.S. wants to stop Iran's nuclear program and reopen the strait. But after last night, is there any trust left to negotiate with? Can a deal be made when both sides are already firing? Or are we watching the first hours of a wider war? We'll be monitoring the Strait of Hormuz, the UN Security Council, and the White House for Iran's response. Subscribe and hit the bell, because if the Gulf explodes, you'll hear it here first.